One and all, it is grand finals time, a $30,000 tournament, and it kicks off with absolute stars here. I was promised that this first game delivered and set the expectations for the entire series. So let's hop in and bathe in its glory. That's right, we're going to be watching Marine Lord go up against Louis MT here in a best of 9 showdown to find out who is the damn finest player in Age of Empires 4 currently. Well, it's looking pretty interesting so far, the trajectory this year, right? We opened the year with Beastie being able to get that win in the first EGC tournament. Then we follow up with Marine Lord reclaiming his crown. But now we have Louis MT, who slayed Beastie in the offline LAN finals in Germany earlier this year, now looking to slay the other king of Age of Empires 4. Malians and Ottomans is definitely an awesome matchup, actually. Like, historically, you know, these two civs, they got added at the same time, and when it first came about, I think, if I remember correctly, it was Malians were a little bit lean away from, and Ottomans was heavily used around this archer massing build. But actually, even before that, when they very first got added, when the players were practicing, the Malians, like, seemed like they might be better. But if you guys remember, when it first came in back in Red Bull Wololo Legacy, the Ottoman build that Puppy Paw came up with was just taking over. Everyone was on board with it. It was the most powerful tool in their arsenal. Then you fast forward over the years, and I feel like this matchup has been passing the baton back and forth as to who is favored. In the current meta, I'd say actually, with the nerfs we've seen to Pro Scouts, Ottomans have risen up in ranks. Malians haven't necessarily fallen too hard, but they've held kind of firm around the mid-tier, mid-upper tier. I think, like, if you look at power rankings, these two civs match up quite closely in terms of generic applicability. But when they face off in games, Malians should, in theory, like, have a very good scale point Donzos into, like, Castle Age for Sofa follow-up. The problem is you're up against Ottomans that are one of the best anti-cav civs in the game, right? So, like, I think for Malians, probably trying to play tempo here makes a lot of sense. You don't want to let Ottomans scale into the late game for multiple reasons. Not just because they've got the gunpowder boys to counter out most of your options, but you also got to worry about things such as, of course, the way that they scale into the Imperial Age and beyond. Now, it's not to say that Malians will have no tools, right? Their own gunners are pretty formidable. The archers will be a great counter to Jannies. I just think when you look at these two civs, Malians are, on paper, and in-game, actually, quite often a quantity of quality civ. So they want to play the game fast and furious. Ottomans have recently found ways of playing very aggressively, but it's off of quality still, right? Usually it's this mass Sapahi that you have to be very careful not to lose or the game is over. Now, opening is going to be aggressive for Ottomans. This is to be expected because of the vulnerability of the pit mine placement for the Malians. But Marine Lord didn't over-invest in this. No, he went for a military school, so we didn't get a Rax rush into an outpost drop.
Now
I wonder if he regrets it, actually. Like, the gold spawn was really bad for Louis MT. He got one, the track on the left you'd expect, but the one on the right is rough. And yo, is that my boy Lizzie bringing the Dota 2 people over? What is up, Admir? Thank you for the raid, mate. I hope you had a good stream. Me and him need to catch up. I feel like we end up catching up, and then we're like, oh man, we should really catch up more. We're going with the 2x speed just the early game. For those coming across from Dota 2, this is, of course, the latest and greatest of Age of Empires. And this right here is two of the absolute best in the game right now. You've got Marine Lord, who is a legacy player, one who's established himself across many years, right, as a dominant force in Age of Empires 4, and before that, a top-level StarCraft 2 player. But Louis MT has just been this meteoric success story. It's even eclipsing that of the Canadians at this stage. Canadians, which started with this game in their pro scene. Same with Louis MT. I mean, this kid, I think he baffled everyone. I think the point where it really just rocketed out of control was in the LAN that happened earlier this year. The German LAN, the small German LAN, where he just, why would he even come? The prize pool wasn't that big. The cost to go, was it worth it? For Team Elephant, yes, because it was finally an opportunity for China to just say, yo, we are a serious region. We are going to dominate this game in the next 2 years. And with the way that we've been seeing more and more of these Chinese players taking over the top 100 on ladder, on pubs, I wholly believe the trajectory is on course. If Dota were paying me to do it, I mean, I'd love to come back and do Dota. I've said this before, like, I've got no problem with doing mobile games. Guys, I'm literally going to Germany next week to host Rocket League, right? I can do mobile games. It's just Dota 2 has become a little bit of a closed circle, so it's very hard to get back in if you're out for a while. AoE 4 has always been an anchored point. It's easy to create content around it, and we have a nice chill community that's been building here. So Sipahi, going to be coming out. So these guys, remember, are like creme de la creme. They are the best light cavalry you'll find in the game. There's no contesting that. Some people say Ghazi, but Sipahi, with the extra range, absolutely worth the extra cost. And something that players have gotten really good at is utilizing that despite the risks associated with it. These are expensive units. They are still technically squishy units because spearmen counter them pretty hard and fast. But if you are typically top micro, you can get in and out with little to no risk. And what on earth am I looking at here? It's a 2TC Ottoman build. Okay, this is crafty as well because Marine Lord, he went out on the stone. That probably got scouted by Louis MT, but he thought nothing of it at the time. Because if he scouted early, it would have just looked like military school scaling, which maybe is a little bit odd. In the current meta, most people don't want to open military school massing. It's not that good. The military schools that passively produce units, of course. But in this situation, it kind of masked the play. So Marine Lord going in for a second town center scale his economy. Some villages are going to get sniped out, but Louis MT is not going to stop here. I mean, he's already a little bit unhinged with this. Archers opening from Malians is a rarity. They typically go javelins just because it's overall a better unit to scale in the feudal age and does counter out archer massing on the other side. The good thing about this for Louis is it means he's put less resources into his range composition. Archers cost 66% of what javelins do, which gives him more economy to work with to go elsewhere, whether it's blobbing more troops or going into rams, whatever you choose, really. Oh, wait, is there a window overlapping? Oh, thank you. You are right. That was me checking on the YouTube broadcast. I gotta get used to that. So we've got a 2 PC setup now, and we capture card through, but that means that, like, I basically have got... Here you go. You can see the cursor change there, and then it comes back here. It's because I've got what is, like, it's a third monitor, technically. The capture card acts as a third monitor. So I have to be careful not to drag things in, otherwise you get little whoopsies like that. Okay, so Sipahi numbers, not too crazy right now, but that's to be expected. Like, Marine Lord has opted to go very greedy here. That's what you have to remember. Like, he hasn't chosen to try to scale into more threat. He's really just looked to actually put the ball in Louis' court to do something. And Louis, well, he would do something indeed. He's going to try to actually outscale the greed. I wonder. Is there a world in which Marine Lord can, like, attack him quick enough to force a reinvestment? I mean, probably not. Like, 2 town centers dries you up pretty fast in the early game. He has got the deer to at least escalate his income, and I believe, did he go for a mill? Well, he got the mill for the Madrissa, right? So yeah, nicely played. That's another nice thing. Because the Madrissa is a mill, that allows you to get survival techniques without having to waste 50 wood. You love cow booms? What? The only people who love cow booms are Malian players. So, like, I've noticed some discussions going on amongst pros currently about, like, the state of things like pro scouts, and I think, like, one fair take I really liked is that, like, the problem with pro scouts is for a lot of civs it's, you know, too viable or not at all. Not many civs have the flexibility of Malian economy to make them feel balanced, if that makes sense, right? So, like, for example, if you think of all the civs that were doing pro scouts before, the only one that actually kept it as a variable was Malians. Because Malians still had cows in alternative. It's very interesting when you think of, like, the design of Malians, because in some ways, like, in certain metas, it feels very refreshing, balanced, and fits well. But in other metas, it is just oppressively boring to watch people build cow again, and again, and again, and again. Talk about the new meta, etc. after the casted games today. I mean, we've kind of constantly been talking about the meta because we've constantly been casting it, right? But we can talk about, like, the evolution. Like, you can see Pro Scouts is just kind of falling off, right? Like, Malians didn't go for it here. Marine Lord even went 2TC, which, if you guys remember, just 2 seasons ago was the quickest way to lose a game you could imagine. Even the best TCing civs in the game could not do that. Fulani is going to be coming through for Louis, so tech up, rushed. And that means you can get to quality. One tricky thing here, though, is you're probably not thinking about Sofa. Sofa's awkward because if your opponent does now kind of semi-mirror, like follow you up a minute and a half later, he's going to have access to Janissaries, and Janis are designed to count Sofa. Now, if he feels like his archer count is big enough, he could just lean into that regardless, right? Like, if you have enough archers, the Janissary count can't scale. But my concern there is, like, you can't afford to really overblob archers currently with 10 Sipahi soon in the field. Remember, Sipahi are ridiculously effective at tearing backlines to pieces. The Pro Scouts become balanced if they bring out the deer carcass food depreciation. Possibly, but I think that just leads to a lame, like, alternative where people just immediately shoot all the deer again to guarantee that you're not a threat later on, right? So it doesn't really solve the problem necessarily. I think with Pro Scouts, like, optimally what needs to just happen is it needs to be a pocket piece of the grander scheme of the map. And, like, what we've noticed is when Pro Scouts is viable, and this has always been the case across the years, when it's viable, it is the focus factor, 100%. So how do you fix that? You add in more food types. I'm the broken record at this stage, and I'm so praying that the DLC we get later this year adds new food types, or I'm at a loss, because it's the most obvious win you could possibly come up with. Yeah, I've heard that as well, move Pro Scouts to Castle, but, like, I don't mind that idea, but if they do that, it should be a temporary solution. Like, they should just add new food types and then return Pro Scouts to Feudal afterwards. But anyway, we'll save that for a game when it comes out. It's interesting we talked about it because, like, Malians is definitely the correct civ to talk about it with due to them having more variants than any other previous Pro Scouting civ. Marine Lord for now is just looking to pressure in, so he's punishing Louis MT for this tech up, which makes sense. Takes out the pit mine and housing, really frustrating for Louis. Not able to contest that because the archer count is already too high. Marine Lord is going to get ready for the tech up behind. We should be looking at Mehmed Imperial Armory. No matter what happens in the meta, apparently no one is on board with the idea of learning more skills. So it's always the free siege. And it will be no different here for the Frenchmen. Scouts don't auto bring deer. Okay, so Scouts not auto bringing deer wasn't the problem, really. Like, people just kind of forgot that it was good. It's convenient and easier, but, like, pros would still use it. Right? Like, all you do is you alienate the casuals. This goes back to the idea, like, there was a debate a long time ago about whether auto queue should be added to AoE 4. And there's a lot of riot, mainly from, like, the very, very high-level players. Because of expression of skills, etc., etc. But, like, you know, when you're weighing up these type of design choices, quality of life, you've got to decide, okay, like, is it tedious to have to do these things? If the tedium outweighs the skill expression, then it's not worth keeping. I'm trying to think of examples we had that with these two civs in the past, right? Like, haha, Ottoman late game. Is it not tedious to try and headbutt Sipahi Janissary? Yes, the answer is always yes. There's no offense. Well, at least it's not Janissary yet. The interesting thing is, like, Marine Lord, yeah, he's going to switch to it now, but it's definitely worth upgrading the archers because these archers from Malians will counterplay Jannies. Remember, they get bonus double damage, in fact, against gunpowder units. I think the goal for Marine Lord now, win condition, is just to suck up all the relics. He's already on his way to 2. A very good time here. And then just hunker down for the tech up. The crazy thing here, by the way, is his counteroffensive, where he was in feudal attacking to Louis' base, bought enough time that he could go for these relics to generate additional gold. It's really smartly played by him. Louis, now going to start moving in to knock out the TC. It is a 4 town center. You run this risk with your placement, but, like, overall, Louis MT, his army's not really big enough to stand here long enough. And you're already seeing the disadvantage he has here. Yeah, it's the attack speed. Not just that, it's the tech. He's behind on damage and will be remaining that way. Marine Lord maintains the +1 lead. Has to be respectful of the sofa. He's got a few Janissaries, but they haven't really shown up. There's only one gunpowder boy in there right now. And he is going to be sacrificed pretty quickly. Yeah, get sniped straight away by the archers. Good micro by Louis. But still, we've once again reached this town center. It's not being garrisoned currently. Choke point defense would be interesting here. Sipahi are super effective due to their double overlap, where the second wave can attack as well. The Janissaries, a little bit too exposed and obvious there, will get sniped immediately. So the anti-cav threat is removed. There's still a handful of cavalry here for the sofa count, so Louis MT with just 5 remaining. But that's going to be good enough to thin the herd, and Marine Lord will be forced off of his second town center. Great dive in here. Wallalow to just at least slow things down, but no doubt about it, Louis MT has found the strike point he needs. He just needs to get more torches out now to punish this town center. Alternatively, he could look towards the siege works, just go into the rams. But crazy enough, he just backs up. Yeah, so Louis not feeling like he actually had a big enough lead off that fight, which is crazy. It looked like his numbers had scaled to a point where he could do damage. And there's the explanation. Okay. Now, this is interesting. I think you should be going extensive fortifications here, right? Because the crossbow emplacements matter a lot against the sofa. He has got a vizier point. He just hasn't spent it yet. No, he went for the healing. He went for the sheep. He done the standard. Healing's going to be nice spread out here as long as you're not losing your units too quickly. And the Sipahi would survive long enough, but the Donzos are still alive. Mango, not really doing enough damage, is going to go down. But compared to last time, Louis' advantage is smaller. Yeah, him backing off may have been the big error of this so far. You could argue maybe he didn't have enough to push through, but coming back so soon after that type of push, I mean, it's the urgency, isn't it? Because he's against 2 town centers, he has to keep pressing. But it gave Marine Lord enough time to get a second wave together. Comes out looking better than last time, and I mean, it's going to be the military campus. I guess we should have really expected this. The problem, by the way, guys, with these new Vizier points is that Mehmed Imperial Armory is still too good. If you look at what he's done here, like Anatolian Hills, I don't want to say it's a must, but it is optimal for most game scenarios. The Fieldworks is phenomenal as well, just for the Relic Rush timing. I mean, it's passive gold, right? You want it. And then what are you left with? You're going to want to get Military Campus, you're going to want to get Advanced Academy, right? That does not leave many Vizier points to dance around with. So things like extensive fortifications and the Akinji system, as cool as they sound, you just don't have the points for it. And until we see a meta where people go for the Istanbul Imperial Palace, the one that gives you extra Vizier points, it's very unlikely to change. Because on the west side did at least get found out. LUMT, understand that Marine Lord's comp actually does demand quite a lot of gold. Remember, he does not have the Advanced Academy, so these Janissaries, he's paying for them directly out of pocket. 100 gold each. Does mean he's at least more food lean, which he needs to be. Remember, Ottomans, Malians, like both of these civs actually can't eat the boars, so that's an irrelevant factor. Means the food supplies are a lot more limited than civs such as Rus, for example. The supply count is actually concerning. Louis is going to want to be a little bit careful. Luckily for him, Marine Lord actually hasn't switched over to Springolds. Springolds rocks pretty hard here, folks, against Mastonzo. He's a little bit risky against the archers, but if you think about this combo, you've got big horsemen, and a Springold is just a big archer. It is the perfect comp to try and hold. The only weakness, and I think maybe is why Marine Lord is reluctant to go towards it, is that you're very immobile. He's getting Mango, so you could argue he's already immobile. I think maybe for Marine Lord, the bigger goal is like a scale point, but even if you're thinking about Mangoes as a scaling unit, it doesn't really get much value there either. Remember, with the Mango play, like, when you go into Imperial, you're not going to build Mangoes. You're going to build Great Bombards. They're just the better all around it, right? So the only thing I can think here is that Marine Lord's paranoia is the archer count is obviously so high he has to answer it, but even more on top of that, if he goes Springolds, those archers are just going to kill him straight away. So that's why we're not seeing what feels like the obvious siege weapon for the Ottomans. And that's kind of crazy placement. He builds the farms on the front side of his base. You're probably wondering why. It's because he's right now anchored here. So, like, although it sounds very counterintuitive to put your villagers in the middle of the battle, at least if they're in the middle of the battle, you're in position to guard them, right? Like, you don't have to worry about these annoying backstabs. Whereas if he spreads wider, you're either going to have to wall the map, or you're going to have to set up guards against the Sofa raids. Did someone say walling? It's Louis MT. Of course he was going to wall. And of course he was going to be the first one to do so. I mean, this is a signature Louis MT move. He's even on top of that, moving now into the 4th age. Fort the Huntress is going to be on the way. And Sipahi raid. Ooh, okay. Cool idea. There is a little bit of economy here, actually. Yeah, there's about, what, close to 15 villages? He's reluctant to go in with everything, so he just peels 2 Sipahi. And this is understandable, right? Like, this is his entire, like, army that's scary. If the Sipahi die, he'll get flooded. It's a great game sense just to not take the bait. I mean, when walls go up like this and you don't see where the villagers are, they could come in behind you and wall you in. More villagers could be pulled as well, and then you're just stuck without flexibility to how you escape. A cheeky micro there. Marine Lord actually jumps on in with the fortitude, so would take more damage if struck back, but understands that the Sofas will not do so. Still, Louis MT's done a damn good job here. Just getting the 1-up on the age up. Right, like not really something you'd expect here. Out of these two, you definitely think that you'd be looking at the Ottomans trying to escape to the 4th age first. But like this is the trade-off. Louis understood, you know, I'm up against 2 TC. If I do just try to play the long castle now, like the last 2 dives didn't come out how I was assuming. So I had to play for the later phase. And he's buying the necessary time here. He's backing up. He's waiting for those elite decks. Marine Lord is struggling with the dive here. It's just tricky to get in, and he knows that there's going to be cannon placements coming through soon. He needs to be fast about whatever he's going to do. Janissary count is also starting to look more healthy. Marine Lord did go in for the Advanced Academy, of course. Yeah, so he's getting the passive production of Janissaries, no longer just burning for his gold. Even though he's got plenty to work with the 4 relics that he garrisoned. Not to mention the fact that he could look to stake a claim on the central gold vein in the coming minutes. Digging out those veins. Marine Lord is going to kindly invite himself into the house. Maybe stay for dinner. Mangoes. Whoa! They want to be first to be seated. Be first to be out on their ass. One of them gets sniped straight away. Louis MT does have the upgrades necessary to try and brute force this fight, but the thing's got me hesitant. Of course, it's going to be those mangoes. Not to mention those Sipahi. I mean, even though you've got these elite Donzos, you have to remember that, you know, double the Sipahi count can attack compared to the Donzo. Yes, you've got the hybrid attack, but you're talking about very chunky, light cav, right? 185 health doesn't really make them sound quite light. I hate to fat shame them, but this sounds like the horse that's been eating all of the seed. Marine Lord continues to push. He's actually not far off of the Fulani, which at this stage is pretty much all of Louis MT's income. He has this plus 1 villager working on deer. Yeah, oh, he forgot to ungarrison, so less food than he actually should have at this stage. Yeah, he's just fully focused on this dive. Marine Lord, quite relentless. You'd think he'd go for a tech buy now, but something we've been seeing more and more in recent times has been this elongated age behind, right? Like, if you're behind on age, you need to find value. You need to punish your opponent for teching up. It starts to look like a sunken cost fallacy the longer you watch someone do this, but I've watched players refuse to tech up for 10 minutes straight, and it win them games because of it. It's actually surprising just how much value you get out of that just added pressure wave instead of just following suit. After all, we are talking about a pretty lofty sum, right? 3,600 resources. You know, that would be, well, about 15 knights, for example. Imagine what you could do with 15 knights. With my micro, eat spears. Maybe I'm selling myself short. Oh, God, I should time you out for that, but that was brilliant. Hell of a battle of furniture, sofa versus Ottomans. All right, take a seat, mate. I'm going to let you stay. Well, that joke wasn't just bad. That was great bombard levels of bad. So we do have the Vizier point. Interesting that he opted for it, and it just shows you how kind of womp-womp some of these other options are. Like, the Kinji not coming out over a 1-free bombard doesn't set himself up for trade bags, though, which is a little bit surprising. You know, you're in a game against Louis MT. You know this player loves late game. You are in the late game. Gold is going to be a finite resource. You're on a civ that needs a lot of it because of the Great Bombard and the Janissary spam. It's very rare we see trade bags, but would have definitely been nice to have just had that as an ace up your sleeve, potentially. I don't know, like, I'm never really sold by this one Great Bombard. I think from Marine Lord's position, he was that freaked out that he was just going to get rolled over. So he wanted all hands on deck. It's gold desperation. LUMT is just trying to starve him out. Marine Lord, he's got the 3.2k gold on the back, but remember, he just went into Imperial. He needs a lot of gold. He's got the elites queued up right now, but after that, you're going to want to consider university techs, which are not cheap. Chases on into the second TC. Farm count is looking good now for Marine Lord. He's up to 52. Yeah, and once again, look at the kind of genius of where he's placed them, right? It's all been front side bar 1 or 2 scourings just because he needs to be in this one central area. What Marine Lord done is he adjusted his build placement to the game state. The game state being that I have a lot of siege. If I have siege, I do not have mobility. So do I stonewall the map? What's the point, right? Like, it's going to take so long, and now that we're Imperial, it'll just get blasted. He just keeps hunkering down around this secondary town center. But now he does need to do something. Triple Sacred Site locked in. Castle's going to start getting sieged. We do have the army tactics on the way, but LUMT still needs some time. Not sure if he wants to fight just yet. They're both at 200 pop, which means this is better for Marine Lord. If he can start scaling into like a little bit more quality. Because Louis MT isn't really feeling quality. So if Marine Lord can get like more Sipahi, you know, more Janissary, feels a little bit better. But for the time being, Louis MT definitely an edge. Another important thing is because they're 200, it means that Louis MT is starting to build reserves, even with less economy. Mango Smush is going to get rid of a lot of it, though. What just happened to this army? Oh, my God. Flops about 40 dead like that. Louis had, like, what, a 30 military lead? Not anymore, he doesn't. Let the push continue. Banker repairs is not going to be your saving grace on that castle at this rate. The Quadra, 5 mangoes. 5 mangoes just chilling here. Are going to have to back up courtesy of the castle. But that wallop, man, that was ridiculous. And keep in mind, this is without adjustable crossbars, right? That is just raw scaling of mangoes. Great Bombard's going to keep sieging in. Very hard for the castle to kill here. You just see how many shots it's going to take. But the assistance is going to come through. But the villager, it's not going to be good enough. The Bombard. Wait, the Bombard? He cancelled the shot. Oh my God, he pulled away. Fractional difference there. Would have lost the Great Bombard otherwise. So we'll be able to repair it up, can keep the pressure up. Important as well, considering that Marine Lord has not toggled the Imperial Armory over at all. It's still building additional mangoes. Is he actually maybe considering adjustable crossbars? Are we getting a rare sight here? You have also got silk bowstrings, which means all Janissaries are going to be in your line of sight. I mean, it's a good thing that Marine Lord didn't scale more of them. Didn't really have a reason with the lack of Sofa. Like, actually, I rate the idea of Louis just doing Sofa archers, really. Because, like, your opponent doesn't really have the Janny answer anymore, and even if he did, you can just disengage, shoot him from range, and gradually enter the field. Like, it puts Marine Lord in a position where he has to brute force all the time with the Sipahi, which is exactly what he's trying to do and regretting right now. Back onto the castle. 3 Bombards so far. And Louis MT now going for the premium. We've got Mustafadi Gunners queued up. Reminder, this is the creme de la creme DPS for the Malians. The gunner unit, and it also has more base damage than the standard hand cannon is. Definitely no joke. Definitely nothing to be underestimated. And let's not forget the Huntress factor, where you can get the first strike out of stealth that gives you double damage. Ridiculous. Looks like a good fight here, as long as he dodges the mango shots. Triple Bombard should be enough to threaten. Yep, there is no siege works. Louis MT has got it on his way, but Marine Lord still lacks it due to a raw lack of gold. Yeah, this is brutal. He gets caught in the flank as well. Sipahi will at least shut that down, but the idle time is felt here. You can see it in his reserves. Marine Lord just kind of stuck on food and wood units. More out of a necessity than a choice at this stage. Louis, well, he saw those mango smushes and he said, you know, those look pretty good. I'm going to mirror it myself. So we do have adjustable crossbars now locked in for Louis MT. That's going to buff up his mangoes in the Imperial, remember. Allow him to just burst down any target. And what's up, ZB0T? I see you the sub, mate. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Osman can get a Vizier point that allowed to build one more landmark from same age. What are you on about? No? Oh, you think they should introduce one that lets you basically be pseudo-China? That... I don't like that. The problem with that idea is, like, Ottomans are still fine in late game. Ottomans are still really good in late game. And what you're suggesting is just a buff to late game. Louis? He's in a little bit of trouble here, Marino. He snuck in with a Sipahi. He's murdering the cows as well. Being optimal about it. He's still at the Fortitude, chose not to activate it. Doesn't want to just melt to the Donzos. Great strike in here. Shuts down half the cattle value. Maybe thinks about hanging around for more. Instead, just going to keep riding by. And that means all of a sudden... Wait, what? I was about to say, all of a sudden, Louis MT's unprotected on the front side. But we've got classic Louis MT shenanigans. Yeah, this is a familiar sight. And I don't know if it's a good thing that it is. He's up to his old treatments here. The walls. Honestly, I don't think anyone in Age of Empires 4 was quite like Louis MT. This man is a breed all onto his own. I mean, it is a marvel and a spectacle to witness, that's for sure. And remember, the goal with this, like, you just keep walling as you go. You create, like, entrenchments upon entrenchments. Marine Lord, smart to start moving up now. You don't want this to scale. You want to shut it down before it can. It's going to be a little poke at the backside, but I believe... Wait, there's a gap there. I mean, in fairness, it's a tiny gap, and you waste so long running around that you just die to do so. And Marine Lord, did he really just aggro this? Oh my god, I can't believe that. He full-on just tried to send it. Big regrets now as he just basically gets wiped on the archers. Louis MT now able to start just moving forward. The town center's already been taken out, remember, so he's already started to affect the farming area here. Unbelievable. I mean, Louis still has an economy issue. That's the big concern I have here is, like, despite the good trades in the fights, Marine Lord has a lot more food to fling at this. It's not just a 400-ish food difference, guys. It's much more than that, because remember, these military schools, they're pumping out Sipahi. It's full breeding season in the horse farm. Every 1 minute, he's getting an extra 120 food. And times that by, what, 4? 5 at this stage? It should be 5. Yeah, so all of a sudden, you're getting extra 500 food there. When you think about what Fulani provides, it's actually not a bad competitor to it in the hyper late game, once you have got the Istanbul Observatory. Well, now with 2 great bombards. Louis MT, he's got 3 mangonels. He just needs to address the Sipahi more so now. Has got some gunners layered in here. Villagers are also just going to be like cannon fodder to absorb some shots here, even though that's not ideal. At least it means your military stays alive. The great bombards are fully fixated on that castle, trying to bring it down. Are going to have to pull away due to the snipes from the enemy bombards. And this wall just needs to go, man. Like, just kill it. Right now, it's kind of griefing you. He does get the freebie, though. Louis, he chased under the great bombards looking for that coup de grace, and it costs him dearly as all of them go down. Marine Lord, he's playing him like a fiddle. Man, that was so well played. Louis MT, this wall, it looked like it was going to grief Marine Lord throughout, but somewhere in there, Louis was just caught not looking. Even that, we just truly believed he'd be able to get in and out without losing all that siege. He was dead wrong. Marine Lord is forced on the retreat again, though. No more flank raise, just kind of straight down the center from both. Sofa are going to try to jump in, but the great bombards are quite tanky. Don't get the name great without surviving quite a few hits, but apparently too many hits on that one. Second one to be targeted down, and great snipe there. Louis MT resets the siege and gives Marine Lord a taste of his own medicine. He even gets an opportunity to keep pushing here. Can he crack this egg? Remember, for Marine Lord, he kind of wants to be in this situation where he's around 180 pop on average. You're playing a Civ that just replicates its losses for free. But the military schools that give you those units for free cannot do so unless you have pop space. So it's important that you're always losing something. Kind of sounds depressing to be a military member of the Ottomans, but yeah, actually it is. Welcome to the sad, sad life of your existence when conscripted. Trip Mango. I actually beat out the Great Bombard. Does back it off just in time. And the front line is kind of lacking here. Louis MT, I think one of the big errors we're seeing is he's still producing from all the way back home. And you're producing into the enemy population line now, right? So, like, it just gives inherent defenders advantage, which is why we're going to see a forced retreat. Still more presence, more progress earned than before. So it definitely feels like Louis is leaning in the right direction. I think really all he needs now is just to get some forward production. You know, get some Raxes up here, for example. Just get like 5 Spearmen producing Raxes just to get that trash wave that keeps Sipahi back and keeps brute forcing. Because the other thing he's doing I really like, he's got the Musafadi gunners coming, which is going to be your optimal late game comp. You want to be up to like 30 of these. 30 to 40 is really good. Cool thing is, like, you know, you think about Civs, the hyper late game best comp for a long time, for years, was 40 hand cannoneers. You know, if you guys remember in the old days, like, whoever won the race to 40 hand cannoneers won the game. With Marlians, I don't think you want to go above 40. 40 is good enough. But the cool thing is, because you have things like the Fulani, you have extra military pot to put elsewhere. So, makes it a lot harder, actually, if you're gonna wave the game. Louis MT, just trying to get the lay of the lands and also draw attention. Marine Lord's not going to take the bait too heavily. Just sends a group of Sipahi, pulls the rest of the troops to the east side. He has locked in more gold. Reminder that Marine Lord has been struggling with gold. That's right, he's been stuck in silver. No, so if it wasn't for the relics, I think Marine Lord would probably have died by now. The 4 relics have gone a really long way in this game when you remember he's had them for like, what, 25 minutes at this stage? So let's be generous in a like reserved way and say it's 20 minutes. You have 4 relics for 20 minutes. It's 160 resources per minute. That's 3,200 gold across that span of time. So that's a small gold vein. Well, not even small, sorry, standard sized gold vein in that time extra that he's had. Sipahi are taking a long time to kill these Sofa, by the way. But this is the issue. You know, unless you have walls, Janissaries aren't going to be able to get there in time. Now, we do have walls, but they are the pitiful ones. Marine Lord hasn't tried to set up for the hyper late. Yeah, stone walls just feels very hard to justify, especially on maps like Dry Arabia in the current meta. You know, once you're in Imperial Age, you know, you're just inviting your stone to be crumbled by a cannon. And this matchup, like as we've seen for both sides, it is about who can get more cannons. Question is, guys, what's the highest count of cannons we're going to have in this game? Because so far, I believe it was 3 bombards? 2 great bombards, right? I don't think we've had more. It's a bit of a weird one as well for Louis, because actually, like, in some ways, it's better to just scale additional mangoes and try and get in range of the great bombard, as it does have a very slow redeploy. And, well, I asked for stone walls, and apparently, it's being obliged here. Yeah, just on the east side for the time being. Now, we are deep into the game, though. 38 minutes, approaching 40. You're seeing the desperation for wood. Like, this is a very interesting spawn for a game where they've been trying to play long. If you look at the map, you can see what's happened here is, like, all the wood has been kind of pushed into the center. I love this. This is fantastic, right? Because, like, if this was a more defensive spawn where you get the tree lines in the corner, you're like, oh, yeah, this will be an hour and a half game. It's very hard to imagine we crack past an hour in this type of game, even with like a stalemate late, just because of lack of wood is going to become the biggest problem. Mangoes. I'm going to have to retreat because this is not a reliable hold for Louis MT right now, and he knows it. Let's pull the villagers across. He's going to try to provide support fire now. Right, it should be. That's a little bit overkill for 3-4 archers there. Maybe just spread out this archer counter a little bit. Instead, he just keeps A-clicking his mangoes onto individual targets. Very unusual for Louis. Kind of a bit of a weak micro play for a player who's renowned for actually being on point with his micro. Marine Lord. Oof. How is Louis doing so abysmally on food? Wait, did he? Okay, no, he did fill the gaps. He's only got 9 farms, though. 22 food workers in total. I mean, this is fine, right? Like, you're spending a lot of gold instead of food by going gunners. And you're going siege as well. So, like, he doesn't realistically need that much food income. The gold's probably going to be the more concerning thing as the game goes on. As to whether he can just afford to keep remaxing on gunner plus siege. As when you like compare these two sides, it's very clear who's burning through more gold faster. Also, successfully burning through more structures and villages. Louis, now with the villager lead, by the way. This is a crazy turn of events when you consider where we were at, you know, half a game ago. Was it not like, I want to say 70 eco to like 110? Marine Lord, with the relics, with the passive gen, doesn't really need as much villager count in reserve. Even more so if he's not planned to play into heavy Sipahi. When you go full spam Sipahi, that's where you just see your food evaporate. So you need just so many workers. But here, he's leaning full infantry. I'm just not sure if I said it's a good thing. This feels more desperation than good. Castle is going to get dropped. Bombards, they can try to snipe out the Great Bombard. Going to take 2 rounds of shots here. Great Bombard. Oh my, the siege stack. Pulls it back before a second shot can come out. Same goes the other way, though. Clash, definitely favoring Marine Lord. Overwhelming defense here. This count looking so good. And Louis may be at risk of having too much siege here. 27 military pop into siege, which means, you know, with the current scale of things, that's over a quarter of his possible population for military going into something that's got a lot of firepower, but not a lot of defense. Still got these little raids on the back from Louis. Marine Lord, it's not really doing enough damage for him to go super paranoid about it. Louis almost tapped the gold on the front side dry. But still, once again, like the way that Marine Lord has played this, he's not draining his own resources that fast when you think about it. No, you wouldn't really believe, like if I said we're in a 45-minute game with an Ottoman player, you wouldn't believe me if I said that he's had 2.5 gold veins. He had the starting gold vein right and the one to the west, I believe. I think that was it. And when you consider the amount of Janissaries and Great Bombards he's been pumping, but this just shows you the power, really, of the passive generation of units. Because the Janissaries, like, I wonder what the count has been at the end of this game, how many have been built. But in terms of how many have been built for free, I'd put it at like 80%, 85%. So let's say, in that case, he built 100 Janissaries. Let's keep it simple. 100 Janissaries. That means 85 of those Janissaries didn't cost him any gold. That saves him 8,500 gold. That's freaking ludicrous. Now that, ladies and gents, is Ottomans. Louis still just trying to play for the siege war to win, but Marine Lord is now leaning more into it. We saw active production of Great Bombards. He's now up to 5. Not just that, this is where the Janissary comp starts to make more sense. Yes, you've now got counter archer play coming your way, but the cool thing about the Janissaries is they are a repair crew for the Great Bombards. You know, at this stage, kind of pulling villages feels like a no-no. You need to keep them gathering to reproduce the army losses. So allowing the military to just do it for you gives you a lot more push power, whereas Louis MT always needs to kind of be fighting around where a resource is, so that he has villages to repair all that siege. Great Bombards are starting to be pressured a bit. Does bait the Donzos forward. Actually kind of perfect here. On the Great Bombards is about to get sniped down though. Looks like Marine Lord isn't pulling it away. He just goes for the trade out. Louis, he's too clustered. It's a traffic jam. Oh no, a disastrous traffic jam. That tree line griefed him fully. Marine Lord pulled back to force them to just hug each other on the edge. I guess a remarkably good trade there. I think like what Louis had was it almost double the military pop into siege. A few Great Bombards have been lost at least, but Marine Lord able to now start pushing into the gold again. The gold vein is just going to be gone entirely. A bloody good hold by Marine Lord. A reminder to Louis MC that he needs to be paying attention to where these siege weapons deploy. Great Bombards. In on it again. The castle almost dead already. At this point, though, Louis is like, it's kind of a shrug. It's no resource gain in this area, but the negative now is like, it's proof that Marine Lord can start pushing out. Before now, Marine Lord has always been stuck here. Never really been able to go beyond it. An army this big, this healthy. I think it's time for the full divide push. Does have the attack speed buffer as well. Just a lot more DPS coming out from his army in general. Louis going pretty heavy-handed down to the mangoes. Soon up to 8. And villagers, they're going to be in trouble. They get found on the tree line. Not just them, but look at the extra workers in the area here. Louis, this is a third of his economy. Pulls the second wave of them away, but you just look at the body count. Neck and neck on villagers now. Military lead still remains from Marine Lord, though. Gotta be careful with the staggered formation as it is on the surface to just run in onto the Great Bombards. Marine Lord, I think he was looking for a rotation onto the mangoes, but with the spearman there, no movement speed, so he does get forced back. This game just feels so back and forth. The tug-of-war never ending really between the two. And Marine Lord, maybe starting to regret that Great Bombard point. We talked about the idea of trade bags down the line. Well, we are down the line, okay? And to have to go trade now and to have missed out on a 40% buffer is absurd and painful. They're going to be kicking himself a little bit about that. Louis, however, has not gone for trade. He has a big edge now. If he can win a siege trade out in the next fight, Marine Lord will be in the middle of a trade transition, while Louis MT will still have over 4,000 gold in reserve to work with. A reminder, even though Marine Lord has got 4 relics, Louis MT has got all the passive gen from pit mines. Man, he's been putting to good work. He's already back up to 10 siege weapons. Still, the hilarious part to me is like after that type of fight that we saw here previously, Louis MT's instinct is to still push into that exact same location where he lost all that siege. Because, you know, like, lightning doesn't strike twice, right? You know, if I stick my hand in a toaster and it burns, and I take it out, if I stick my hand in a toaster again, does it burn? If I lick at an iron that's on and it burns my tongue, and then I wait 5 seconds, I lick it again, does it burn? Yeah, it burns. Guys, the only reason it wouldn't burn still is if you've lost all nerve endings in your hand and tongue. Please, please stop sticking your hands in toasters and your tongues on irons that are heated. In fact, just don't stick your tongue on irons ever. Thank you. Look at this siege line. He's genuinely just committing to this tree line again. I mean, in some ways it's advantageous. Your opponent can't see the initial shots, but very dangerous as well. Who knows? At this rate, this tree line might not be here very long. Louis MT is hungry for the wood. Chinese woodpecker, if you will. And he's still got a decent amount of wood. And nah, I guess not. It's like half tree line, straggler trees, so he does have to play into this area. By the way, like, I get a bit concerned if this is going to be the norm, because we're almost an hour in to game number 1 of the Grand Finals. Grand Finals are best of 9s. This could be a 9-hour series. Oh, God. I mean, that sounds like music to Louis MT's ears. And neither player would get weaker. Like, they actually kind of play on the same... Actually, not the same time zones. It's just Louis MT has got the energy of a child pumped up on 5 cans of Red Bull a day. He will start playing around like Dumu time and even come into practice around Marine Lord time. And Marine Lord time, for those that are wondering, is midnight for Europeans. Yeah, guy just sits down for a power nap for an hour or 2 and comes back at it. Spy Flood is real though. Marine Lord, where did this come from? 45? Donzo Khan is not really looking impressive against this. The mangoes are going to take ages to kill him as well. He's breaking him. Oh my god, Marine Lord. What a timing here. Siege is starting to move in. Great bombards to siege onto the castle. He's going to retreat with the spy line for now. He's already got another 15 in queue though. Louis, he's going to try to return to Sofa, but your opponent already has Janissaries. And you see the hesitation now for Louis. Like, this Horseman comp is big enough to run through and just disintegrate all siege. You have to be very careful about where you take the next fight. Once you have some great bombards, it's usually over. You need to make a huge mistake. Maybe just good Sofas. Nice strike here. Oh my. Look at Louis' worker count. Guys, he's not going into more workers. He's going into more army. It's in some ways, yes, but like, here's the problem, guys. The quality of the army. For Louis, it's just the siege. Really just the siege. If he fails to hold the right position and loses that siege ball, his army is not worth the loss of workers. Marine Lord, on the other hand, Great Bombards, the Janissaries, the Sipahi. These all sound like things that are worth their own weight in the late game. I wonder if Marine Lord just says to hell with it and goes looking for the economy. Because LUMT is backed up quite a lot. Apparently, he says to hell with it and A clicks into the army. Sipahi dive in. Great Bombards are going to have to retreat. Marine Lord, I think he just realized how little economy LUMT must have. Like, this army is huge. Let's start to snipe out the mangoes. Sipahi are flooding through. He's got a secondary contingent on the way. Because the cavalry, they should arrive quick enough here. The Great Bombards are just going to completely forfeit the fight. So it gets them out of the chaos. But the Bombards... No, Louis, not again! Not again! It's happening again! The siege pulls forward, chasing the Great Bombards, and the Sipahi are breaking him! Mango's overextended. LUMT needs to get out of here fast, but it's not going to be quick enough at this rate. He's resorted to warrior scouts. Feudal warrior scouts to try and have something in the way. It's not working. More siege fallen. It's just crumbling before his very eyes. LUMT loses it all. I mean, he's still got 6,000 gold in reserve, but the wood may be a little bit more challenging for a guy who's been spamming Donzos on a map that is fast running out of wood options. It's not going to be gold that kills the Malians. It'll be the lack of anything to throw through that wood chipper. And indeed, we are looking to cast through the entire series here. Especially if it's going to deliver epic games like G1. Oh my goodness. LUMT now just rescaling into the gunners, which makes sense. We said he has gold, not wood. Gunners going to be food and gold. So if you can rebalance to just leverage your 5,000 gold reserve, makes a lot of sense. He has been gathering stone here and did just see the markets, but no. No. These are Sipahi. Only a few is all it's going to take to run these people all the way to the afterlife. Let's get bogged down on the backwards ones, though, so maybe just maybe LUMT gets away with this. Kind of crazy as well, actually. Like, Marine Lord, I think if he gets in front of those workers, more than half of what remains is dead. Let's be real, what remains is not much. Louis is now down to 58 workers. His military count is abysmal. He couldn't afford the losses he took in that last engagement. Remember what we said about Louis' strategy here? He built up reserves. He was 200 pop. He can afford some losses and keep scaling, but he can't afford an army wipe. Losing the siege was essentially an army wipe. Even if the rest of the bio had gotten away. It's enough to burn your economy, and you're already seeing it. LUMT is looking flaky. And I don't know how he's meant to hold on much longer. Great Bombards just trading out. Bombards not able to actually kill them fast enough, so the Ottoman cannons just don't care. At this stage, Marine Lord is just kind of in an A-click motion with a lot of his army. He's going to temporarily retreat with the Great Bombards again, but the Sipahi are into the base. Not going to find any workers on the gold, but they can find the back farms easy enough. And at this stage, LUMT is overextended. This is it. You can feel it. Marine Lord just has momentum on his side. But what an effort it took. LUMT desperately trying to contest the ridiculous Ottoman powerhouse in the late game, unable to do so, and takes an early lead in this best of 9. The question now is whether Louis can get it on track and pull it back.